In today's breaking news, an architect is covering up for Trump's botched White House renovation, and Kennedy Center insiders have secretly exposed their disgust on the changes to their building, and I have both stories and more for you next. I'm Dan, and welcome to another Occupy Democrats video. To get all of our reports on Trump's continued destruction of everything sacred in our democracy, please hit that subscribe button. Let's begin this report with a doctor sounding the alarm on Trump's dangerous level of malignant narcissism, and then I'll share the latest chaos it has caused for the White House architect and the whistleblowers inside the Kennedy Center.
We're in a hell of a lot of trouble, us, America, but the world is in a hell of a lot of trouble because the most powerful man in the world is both evil and demented. He has the most severe personality disorder, actually, that a human being can have. It's called malignant narcissism. It was originally introduced by Erich Fromm, who escaped the Nazis, to explain the psychology of Hitler and other murderous dictators like him. It's actually not in the DSM. It's kind of a historically obscure diagnosis, but I happen to have studied with the person who was the world expert on malignant narcissism. And so early on, when Trump was running for president in 2015, I recognized that this was essentially a meteor heading towards Earth. Because I knew just how destructive a malignant narcissistic leader can be to a country. And I saw it as potentially fatal to our country. And unfortunately, that seems to be potentially coming true. It has four components: narcissism, of course, but also psychopathy, or what we call antisocial personality disorder. So lying, breaking laws and norms, having no remorse for violating the rights of others. Also paranoia, and finally sadism. A lot of what he does is gleefully destructive and harmful, and it actually gives him enormous pleasure to hurt people and to destroy things.
And speaking of destructive and harmful, that brings us to the White House and Kennedy Center. In this first clip, watch as the White House architect scrambles to normalize the Donald's lopsided debacle.
After tearing down the East Wing of the White House to make way for President Trump's grand ballroom, tonight the president's architect revealing part of the historic West Wing may soon see changes too. A new second floor for, quote, symmetry. In August, we spotted the president standing on the roof of the West Wing, and he hinted it would also be part of the renovation. Mr. President, what are you doing up there?
Taking a little walk.
What are you building?
Going to the ballroom, which is on the other side.
The president recently saying his ballroom plans are only expanding.
Now it's bigger than I told you.
Today, his architect presenting plans to the National Capital Planning Commission, saying the massive ballroom will be as tall as the main residence itself. So they want to add that second story to the West Wing colonnade so both sides will match. The ballroom's initial price tag of $200 million has now skyrocketed to $400 million. The president says it's being entirely paid for by private donors. And David, the president telling the New York Times he's calling this new part of the project the, quote, Upper West Wing, and that it could be used as additional office space for his staff or the First Lady's team.
So that's the literal White House cover-up. And next is the Kennedy Center down low as insiders reveal the turmoil Trump has caused with his repulsive rebranding, as reported by Notice. Disgusted, National Symphony Orchestra members fear Trump's Kennedy Center name change could ruin them. Members of the National Symphony Orchestra warn that the John F. Kennedy Center for the Performing Arts decision to add President Donald Trump's name to the building has already damaged their orchestra's reputation and finances. A Kennedy Center mainstay since the mid-1980s, NSO members' displeasure adds to a growing backlash, including a spate of event cancellations by artists scheduled to perform there. Even the most far-right conservative, Trump-loving members of the orchestra who've loved the takeover are disgusted and terrified by the recent move of renaming the center. One member of the National Symphony Orchestra, who requested anonymity for fear of retribution, told Notice, "They just know inherently how difficult that's going to make every aspect of our lives by putting the man's name on the building." The orchestra member lamented that the NSO's Christmas season performance of George Frideric Handel's Messiah is routinely a top-selling concert, but it had anemic attendance this season. There's a real fear that this is just adding another accelerant on a pretty outrageous fire. Another NSO member told Notice that the abrupt name change created anxiety and confusion among musicians. The member added that there's a lot of fear regarding what could change in musicians' collective bargaining agreement, which governs the terms of their employment. The orchestra member added, "I see a lot of artists now saying, I don't even want to be in a building with that man's name on it." I don't know how that's going to impact the future performances, but I wouldn't be surprised if it causes problems. Those are just the highlights of the Torrance Banks article. For the full story, visit notice.org. I think when Trump walks from or is wheeled from the White House, his name coming off the Kennedy Center will be the first order of business. The malignant symbolism of putting his name above JFK's will be reversed with delight, something akin to the toppling of a dictator. I don't think they'll be able to reverse the appalling damage he's doing to the White House, but maybe they can use that ballroom to throw a tremendous celebration of new life for democracy like the world has never seen before, believe me.